Some of you have heard this speech many times. I've been with the airport for 21 years. I was actually going to retire, and then I got kind of talked back into it again. But before we get going there, I have a land acknowledgement, because we have many Indigenous partners, so we want to make sure that they're all recognizing this. And I'll read the TRA is Thompson Regional Airport Authority. So Thompson Regional Airport Authority acknowledges that we are on traditional territory of the Nishuasiak, Cree Nation, and homeland of the Red River Métis, Inuit, and Dene people. So respectfully, we don't do anything without consultation. That is kind of who we are and what we do. We are owned and operated since 2000. There was a group of organizations that got together and wanted to make sure that we retained ownership within the city of Thompson for the Thompson Regional Airport Authority, and developed it as time went on. The key organizations, as you can see there, is Kiwi Travel Council, Community Ventures, North Central Development, and the Chamber of Commerce. And they've been huge supporters because, again, KTC is all those remote communities that the Minister was talking about that we serve within that region, and many more encompassed within our area. We are the third busiest airport in Manitoba. I will say we're the second busiest commercial airport. St. Andrews has more movements than us, but it's smaller planes. We move a lot more freight and people. Everybody always thinks of us as just, the moving people. But if you go out to the airport, anybody that's worked there or anybody that's been around it can't get over how many planes are taking off and leaving daily out of that airport. At our peak, we'll have about 114 movements in a day. And that's moving freight and people to the outlying communities. And just a little to that point, what really confirmed it, I think, for all levels of government, municipal, right to provincial to federal, was when COVID hit, it was the only reliable way to get people, supplies, and services in and out of those communities. And to put a point on that, if you heard the national airports, passenger travel had dropped 5% at that time. Our passengers and movements, we were still doing 50% of that. And because it's such that key piece of infrastructure to move people in and out and around in communities. We have numerous airlines flying out of there. And I know some of them are going to be speaking today. I won't go into them all. If you're from northern Manitoba, you've been on them, you've flown on them, you utilize them for freight, you utilize them for medevacs. And those are really the reason our board got together and said, we have to make sure this piece of infrastructure is there for them. Because we are a not-for-profit, so we are not here to make money off this. Everything we do at that airport is strictly to keep those airlines going and make it easier for them to maneuver freight and people in and out of those communities. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on the economics of this. It's huge. The direct and the indirect inputs that it creates within this community. The project is in full swing out there right now. We are building the new terminal. If anybody's taken a driven down the highway, unfortunately you can't get into it yet because it's a major construction zone. But there was, I think yesterday the statistic was we looked at just the man hours on the terminal alone, and we have exceeded 80,000 man hours just on the terminal alone to date, and we still have another year and a half build on that. And that's not including anything going non-air side. So that's or air side and the civil. That's a different statistic. At the end of this, we'll wrap this all up and we'll give you a better picture. That's a different presentation. So, why are we doing this? Well, Chris, I enjoyed listening to your presentation. Boy, you got challenges with this continuous frost. So, I was exactly where Chris was 21 years ago. And I like what he said. You have to walk, you can't run when you start this thing. Because when we started at this is the underside of what's supposed to be the crawl space to our terminal. I used to love taking people to touring. That was, see, Chuck's laughing already, but it's not a crawl space. You walk around and there's certain areas in there that I won't take people. And I used to laugh because I said, previously all the ministers, provincial ministers and federal ministers, if I invited them, I'd want to take them down. Nobody wanted to come down with me. I think they were scared I was going to leave them down there or something. But anyways, it's kind of an interesting, if anybody ever wants to study discontinuous permafrost, come see the old terminal. It's sinking rapidly. And it's just half of it, but that's the nature of discontinuous permafrost. It's sporadic, it's here, there, and everywhere. We drilled, before we even started, probably about 1,000 holes, all the way around that airport, trying to find good ground to build on. So it's been a study. When did we start? We didn't really start in 2017. We started in 2004 when there was a group of gentlemen who said, come over to the airport. We've got a project for you. We want to build a new terminal. Well, before we even started the terminal, again, it comes back to that walking before you run. We had to rebuild all the runways, all the infrastructure, airside infrastructure. We spent approximately $65 million on airside. That was extending the runway. Our runway, when I started there, was only 4,500 feet. You can't do freight movements on that. We had to bring it back up to 5,800 feet. Our crosswinds runway was only 2,500 feet. We extended it twice. But each time we did one of those projects, we got a better understanding of what kind of ground we were on. The technologies from the time we started this to the time we finished doing some of that airside rehabilitation gave us a better understanding of discontinuous permafrost and how you can work with it and what you can do with it. And those are going to be the challenges for the railway. The good news is technologies are changing so rapidly, and what you can do with them and how you can do it. I'm more optimistic about seeing that happen now. But we really began the whole process in 2007. Was our first major strategic planning session, and we had a plan set to 2027. I'm pleased to say that we've exceeded that plan that was set out initially, and we're going to finish more than what we had anticipated before 2027. So I wasn't going to let the board sit on their butts. We started another strategic plan. I said, okay, that one's done, but we're not done with the airport. We've got another 30 years we've got to look ahead and see where we're going. So again, it's those short-term, long-term plans. It's anything you do with major infrastructure like this does not happen overnight. It's a long-term play, but the investment in it will pay dividends for years and years to come to the communities and the future surrounding it. So I respectfully, like I said, I really enjoyed the presentations this morning because you said you can't monetize what it's going to cost you to build that in a return on investment in just one facet. There's so many doors that will open up as you do that and go ahead with it. So we are now in the build stage. It is a $125 million project. Before COVID, it was a lot cheaper. And the example I give is we had tendered the terminal before COVID. The tenders at that time, the same terminals, same square footage, came in at $35 million. Post-COVID, $52 million. So if you're looking at infrastructure costs and what they're costing, they're not going down. Those are some of the challenges that you have to keep pace with and how to finance that. Again, we're not for profit. We have a limited amount of revenue. So when we see the province of Manitoba step in and contribute the $15 million, and they didn't really mention it, but there's more than that happening because there's a road that has to come in off the highway too that they're participating in. And that's another contribution from their side that takes some relief off of us and having to raise those funds. So I can't say enough. It was the tipping point. When the government of Manitoba came to the table, it was the last piece of the puzzle we had to put together to get this project going. And the day we signed that agreement, we got the shovels in the ground pretty much where we're going to get this. We're still scheduled. I had construction meetings this morning, so I apologize for being late. So we're still scheduled fall of 2025, completion of everything, all the taxiways, runways, and everything else that has to happen, the connections, will probably be 2026, but will be operational, from what I can tell still today, will be fall of 2025 in the new terminal. And the beauty is the old terminal keeps going, and we build the new one, and it's like a flip of a switch, we go over, and it's turnkey into the new location. So there's very little disruption. The only guys that are panicking are CATSA, because they have to move some equipment over from the old terminal to the new terminal kind of quickly. So yeah, $125 million. What does that include? Well, like I said, the new ATV is about $52 million out of that, so that's the biggest tranche of money going in there. But it includes new access roads, water treatment plant. We finished in 2019. We didn't have potable water. We used to have potable water from the city of Thompson all the way out there to have potable water. So that was a huge, huge piece for us. We've had some sewer that we are extending, and the beauty of the water out there is we also brought it to the tenants on the north side, which provided them some fire suppression, because they're an investment to us. If a hangar goes up in smoke, that's a huge loss to us as a community and to that investment of that airline. So that was one of the things they said, we have to get water over to the north side, and we did manage to do that. So there's fire hydrants all along the north side. We didn't have potable water in the terminal. We have that now. So again, these are things that'll pay dividends into the future. All new parking lots, a new apron, new taxiways, and again, there's some airside and non-airside development included within that. We built 3 new lots, one of which has been tentatively spoken for already, and I'll let the airlines talk to that. But yeah, there's possibility of a new freight facility being built adjacent to the new terminal. This is a project, and this is actually a little older shot now. It's a few weeks. It's progressed rather rapidly from this point because of the civil works going on out there. We now have equipment working on both sides of that of the building, and we also have the panels are starting to go up, so you're starting to see the facade and the color of the building. And then on top of it, we've got the water and sewer guys working in there, dropping water and sewer lines in. So yeah, it's kind of a beehive of activity right at this very, very moment. What I'm proud to say, and this is another thing, so there's a ton of northern employment in there. We've got contractors, sloop contractors working on site. We've got JP Thorne and his family working on site. Penco's hired locally laborers as many as they can get. They're scratching like everybody else, trying to find enough employees and trying to get enough people to work. But there is a lot of northern employment going on within this project right now. So again, money staying in Thompson, dollars being spent in Thompson, going to homes in Thompson. So, yeah. Just to give you a little scale, there's the old ATV that's kind of up there, and then the new location of the new ATV down from there, closer to the highway. And that's what I was saying is the participation from the provincial government it also includes working on that access road to connect to our development in there. And one thing I do want to point out is there's kind of a triangular piece of land down here, and I'll speak to that a little bit further in the oh, that's okay, I think people understand it's the Y coming down. That's our existing road going into our terminal, but that's a piece of crown land, and we are working with Ed Wintersall and NCN, and I'll talk just a little bit about that later in the presentation. Again, kind of scale gives you a little bit better perspective of the new terminal. So it's a pretty major project. Like I said, we're basically building a brand new airport in a new location, other than the main runway, and connecting everything up to it. And there will be a connection to our old apron, which is a bit of a roller coaster. So we have some other work. We're going to pulverize that and turn that back into gravel over time, because that terminal and that apron sits on discontinuous permits. So normally you're allowed about a 2% slope on your roof.
aprons and that, we're probably hedging 15-20% slopes in some areas. So we've got those all blocked off, obviously for safety reasons. So this is a picture of the new terminal, and it's how it looks, and the typical planes that come into our neighborhood and fly us, get us from point A to point B. Yeah, the whole thing, the amenities within the building are brought up. They're modernizing. You know, it's the modernization of everything. This is the artist rendition, which is very close to the actual what's going to be there. We stayed true to what we presented. There's some slight modifications to this, but this is what it'll look towards airside. There's windows facing airside, so you can see. There's three gates in there. The capacity and the size of it, to give you scale, our old terminal is 14,000 square feet. The new terminal is 40,000 square feet. So a lot more ability to handle evacuations, movement of people, if there's a major infrastructure. When the hydro dam was being built, the last hydro dam was being built in Manitoba, we had to stage people in buses outside because we didn't have enough room in the terminal to get them from there to the terminal to the plane, to get them checked in. We'll have the ability now that these three gates can work as one gate if need be, and it's just a matter of scheduling when the planes come and go. This is the non-air side, which basically mirrors the air side. So there's going to be retail opportunities. I think we've got about 6,000 square feet as opposed to what we have now, which is 0 in our existing building, of retail opportunities, space within there that can be configured. We have both airside and non-airside venue. I know when you go through, a lot of people go through the check-in and they say, I can't take my bottle of water, can't take my drink, I have to spill it out, there's nothing on the other side, there's not even a drink machine. The logistics of this you'll have a kiosk on both sides. So, another retail opportunity. There's retail opportunities on both sides. There's also a business center. So if you're flying through and you're going to a community, you need a quiet place to work. We built a little business center within the facility. And there's also an elders and a mother's room. So it's a quieter section of the airport. It's a room unto itself. If somebody just wants a quiet space to go sit, that gives them that opportunity to have it. So check-in gates. Especially between 8 and 10. I think we settled on 8 as the final count. A lot more queuing space. Your luggage check-in will be a whole different process now. It'll be much similar to Winnipeg. You know, your luggage gets put on a conveyor. You don't have to carry it around with you. So again, when you arrive at the airport, back from your trip, it's about, I would say about 7 times the size of the area that we have now. And then you come in, the car rentals are right there. That green door that you see off to one side, again, I said, like, we held true to this concept. That's the quiet area. You go back in there for the elders lounge, back in that area. So it's kind of away from the terminal, put back a little bit. So. We're not just an airport. And I'm not going to take Laura's thunder away about Area 55 cold weather testing. So we are a regional airport for the most part, but we do have carriers that are going beyond the borders of Manitoba for freight. But we are a global player, but it's a different aspect of our business. So we're multifaceted. What we looked at is we said, to survive as an airport and not be reliant all the time on government money, we need to be more than just an airport. So Area 55 was the Ford cold weather testing facility. My board was very much in favor, if the opportunity came forward, for us to own that, because that facility sat vacant for 8 months of the year. So Laura's going to tell you the exciting things we're doing with it now. That's a different presentation. We have the pilot program. We have the prevention of hell attacks. So this is in the works. This is not a nailed down, we're doing it tomorrow. But this is, we've been approached to have the Paint Lake helitack move from Paint Lake Provincial Park and centralize it at the airport. So it can be, those firefighters can be dispatched quicker. And there were some logistics things that were benefits to being at the airport. It's, I went to Sudbury many years ago and a few other places in Ontario, and that seemed to be what they were doing. They were moving all their helitacks into airports. That was, and it's just a mobilization when there's a fire to get them out quicker. It's the infrastructure closer to town for housing for members and things like that. So that's an exciting development. That would be on the north side of our airport if and when it goes ahead. We've prepped the area. It's ready to go, so it's in the early planning stages. Commercial industrial development. So this is an interesting one. Again, we're not in the hotel business. We're not in the business of building a whole bunch of commercial and industrial. We just want to build the infrastructure, attract what comes our way. And we are having lots of opportunities. Most of it's aviation, but we are working with our Indigenous partners to see what other opportunities are out there. For us, we're building, it's an ecosystem. You know, aerotropolis is what is kind of the Q word now, you know, or a municipality, you know, we used to call ourselves a municipality of airport, you know, not to compete with the city, but to complement it, right? So, but there's a lot of, like I said, exciting things coming, and Laura's going to talk to all the innovation and training stuff like that. I'm going to leave that with her. This is a concept, and I'm going to put a point on that. This is a concept. So that triangular piece of land I was pointing out as you drive into our airport, there's a chunk of land. Now, if you look up towards the top, you will see where our terminal building is, where the planes are sitting up there. But that triangular piece of land represents all these little buildings. That is a developable piece of land, but it's outside the airport boundaries, but it's inside Crown land boundaries, and it sits in NCN traditional lands. So we have been meeting with NCN and discussing possibilities about development within this. And we have some things that are, you know, moving quite nice, and I think that was the thing we always said as a board, that if you build something that can attract people and development, it's going to take time for that to evolve, but we're starting to see it evolve. The water treatment plant that we built, we built it over capacity for the airport, because there's the golf course, which is owned down by the city. We could provide water to that location, because now they have lots there. We were thinking outside our own boundaries and our own purpose. Can we do this? How do we grow Thompson in the region better? So it's partnerships, it's northern partnerships. No mode of transportation works in isolation. You know, it doesn't matter what it is, infrastructure, whether it's mining, whether it's hydroelectric, you know, they're going to need freight moved via trucks, they're going to need freight moved via train, they're going to need freight moved and people moved via plane. So I think, you know, I commend again the people that set up this symposium. I implore people, I know we did one of these a few years back, but I would like the conversations to continue. Even if there's something comes out of it, we form some kind of a committee that we can meet via Zoom, Teams. I mean, the world is connected now. But I think those connections need to keep going so we can keep things like this moving. So, if you want to follow our construction and what's happening, Laura does a great job of keeping all these entities moving for us and pictures up. We have soon, you'll see pictures coming. There's a 3D camera coming into play pretty soon that will start taking pictures of the inside of the terminal as it's getting developed, and that will start to, some of that feed will be able to be posted on these forums. But other than that, I thank you. I won't get too long here. I'm probably over time now. Chat is going like this to me, so, but I appreciate it, and And anybody wants to go see the terminal, you can, like I said, you can drive the highway right now, and it's exciting. Go down North Anger Road, you'll see all the tenants and the people and the development that's going on that side too. Yeah, thank you.